the week. Dr. Maifa, back to you.
Thank you very much, host, and thank you, Mkoma King Albert. Thank you, Mkoma Champion, and thank you, Leslie, for joining us this morning. We appreciate your presence because Twitter space without audience would not mean anything. So, thank you for being here, and I hope whatever we are going to deliberate on will move our country forward. Something that caught my attention in Zimbabwean news during the week is the delimitation report having, having in quotes being finalized, or, the information is saying what was presented to ED is the final document. It's very disturbing to me and most of the Zimbabweans because, as we are all aware, it, there had to be a 2-week notice to the public before it was declared to be final, but that didn't really happen. So to me, that's the most important news that has been catching my attention in Zimbabwe news, and also that 75% research apparently says 75% of the teachers in Zimbabwe have mental health issues, and this is also very worrisome. Thank you, and back to you, Mkoma Denford.
Yes, thank you very much. I know we cannot really exhaust a lot of things that happened along the week, but one thing that, in as much as it is not a Zimbabwean thing, but it has got so much to do with the current affairs in Zimbabwe, the issue of the elections that are actually taking place in Nigeria. We are receiving reports that one of the contestants in the election have actually withdrawn their candidature, paving way for this other contestant who is Obi. I'm not too sure his first name. So this is, and this contestant who is being given a chance is an opposition candidate, meaning to say, I think there's overwhelming support for him, and that is likely going to translate to his ultimate winning of the election. And the events that are taking place in Nigeria can also, we as Zimbabweans who are going to be having elections this year, we need to keep our eyes on that, and as a learning curve, or as a transitional curve from now up to September, when we are likely going to be having our elections, is something that I thought I should also share with the you guys. The other thing that I also learned in as far as statistics is concerned is the issue of children, school children in Zimbabwe. The research that was done by one of the teachers union in Zimbabwe actually suggested or concluded that a whopping 57% of our children in schools have just gone into drugs, and they actually insisted and highlighted that this statistics is something that people should not really say it is a conclusive one, because there are a lot of loopholes that could have been caught along the way when researchers were not actually taking into account how the drug issue is actually penetrated into the rural areas. Most of the data that they collected, they actually insisted that it mostly came from urban and peri-urban areas. In the rural areas, they had problems in actually getting information. So these are some of the issues that I said we need to share amongst ourselves, to say when we were just moving along the week, this is the news that we had. But after having said that, I think we also need to go ahead with our program, and this is I think we have some few minutes of the review of what we had last week, because last week we were conducting a topic on social media as a game changer for both the electoral process and the outcome of 2023 election, and a number of issues were highlighted. And as I'm going through here, I think for the four of us who are here, anyone who would want to get a mic, you can just get it as we are waiting for people to come. But we are going to be speaking about or reviewing the topics that we had last week for the benefit of some who could not have listened to the recording or did not participate in last week's space. But Dr. Maifa, what actually caught your mind in as far as what we discussed the last week about social media is a game changer for both the electoral process as well as the outcome? Go ahead, Dr. Maifa.
What caught my mind is that social media can be used positively or negatively, and that even now it's possible to change the situation in Zimbabwe through the use of social media, through community radios, through WhatsApp messages, through calling each other, and so on. So indeed, it can be a game changer, and reporting incidences of political violence, reporting news of the elections, of the voting process as it comes out, the results as they come out, producing the V11s. So a wide range of issues came up. You could use it for fundraising. You could use it for a lot of things. So social media plays an important role uh, in the electoral process, and before the electoral process, and even after, because you can actually change people's minds by through social media. Thank you. Back to you, host.
Thank you, Doctor. There, and it's important that in as much as the Constitution actually provides that information dissemination is supposed to be the responsibility of the main broadcaster in the country, but unfortunately, the events that have unfolded since the coming in of the main opposition in Zimbabwe is that there has been a restriction of how the opposition has got to actually access information from the main broadcaster, being Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation, and all the print media, either the Herald of the Sunday Mail, the Chronicle, and so on and so on. So it could be a deliberate issue with the regime that they actually have to make sure that information is mainly being given to the ruling party. But because of the inception of the social media, we actually had an intention of wanting to really gauge how far social media can go in as far as determining the electoral process as well as the outcome. And on our speakers, the main speakers, the speaker that we had a veteran journalist by Simbachi Kanza. He came with his submissions, and one of the things that he highlighted was the issue to do with how the comparison of the elections that took place in Kenya. He gave through the political dynamics that took place in the United States of America during the election of Barack Obama, as well as the current president. He also went on to talk about the United Kingdom politics being influenced by the social media, and we went on to quiz him on to how exactly Zimbabwe can be compared to the developed or Western countries who can actually abide by the constitution, because in as much as we can have so much of influence from social media, but if the regime would just want to go through what they have, despite what is provided by the constitution, I went on to really highlight that people should make sure that what they get from the social media, the information that they get from the social media, it could be the campaigning for people to go to do the registration to vote, will actually help them to overwhelmingly go and vote. And when they vote, it will be very difficult for people to actually, for those in power who would want to rig the election, to rig the election. So these are some issues that we discussed about last week when we were looking about on the issues of the social media. And like we are saying, once we have got our guest speaker with us for the topic comes, then we will just go along with our our topic, but they could be having, because they are based in Zimbabwe, they could be having problems with their network. Or we can still go ahead with our topic. So, Dr. Maifa, do you still have anything that you would want to speak about last week before we can quickly get into our topic?
I think generally we have covered it all, but it's interesting to note that maybe 3 weeks back we had a space on drugs, and the following week we had a space on the education system in Zimbabwe, and I seem to have noticed the social media being busy, with police reportedly having arrested drug dealers or, drug offenders. But it's unfortunate that people who are addicted are also being arrested, yet there are patients who should actually be getting rehabilitation. We have also had like a press statement from the Ministry of Education about the state of schools in Zimbabwe, about drug abuse and about violence, bullying. So it's important to note that something is apparently being worked on. Thank you very much. Back to you, host.
Well, thank you, Doctor. There we need to proceed with our program. Like we said that today our main topic is Zimbabwe's mineral resources as an economic transformational vehicle to the ordinary citizens in Zimbabwe. One thing that I have, and I think possibly other Zimbabweans have noticed, is that Zimbabwe is a very rich country in as far as our natural resources are concerned, and I think it is indisputable that amongst the largest reserves of minerals in our country, we have got gold, we have got diamond, we have got platinum, and we've got asbestos coal, to name just but a few. These reserves are so much that maybe what lacks in Zimbabwe is the production capacity or extraction capacity. But what has just been in place is a situation in which those who are in economics, they actually highlight that Zimbabwe actually holds it has got the second highest capacity or reserves of gold in the whole world, and in as far as platinum is also second from South Africa as the Bushveld reserves, meaning to say that all that we are having, or all that we are going to be discussing today, is to say, if we can make use and positively work with the resources that we have, surely it is going to actually reflect that Zimbabwe is going to move from point A to point B in as far as emancipating its ordinary citizens is concerned. But without going any further, I think, Dr. Maifa, you have got a bit of what you would want to say in as far as how our people or how our government can actually accelerate the empowerment of the ordinary Zimbabweans in as far as the resources are, in as far as the mineral resources are concerned. But before coming to you, Dr. Maifa, there are a number of legislations or policies that the Zimbabwean government has put in place purportedly to make sure that the citizens are going to be empowered regarding the issues to do with the resources that we have. So we have got what they called the indigenization program, where the government actually said, and this is not only restricted to the section of mining, it is across the whole economic spectrum, to say, for all the international investors that we have in Zimbabwe, if they've got a net asset of not less than 500,000 US dollars, it means they need actually to also cede the production or production rights to ordinary citizens of 51%. And these are some of the issues that that I was actually insisting to say. If that is the provision that is there within a Zimbabwean economic context, we could be having a situation where Zimbabweans are well empowered economically because the government has got legislations, policies that are in place. So then there are also other issues that we are going to be discussing on issues to do with how the government has put in place mechanisms to make sure that people are empowered. But I think, Dr. Maifa, you've got a number of issues that you need to share with us before we speak of what I also had. Go ahead, Dr. Maifa. Dr. Maifa, can you hear me?
Sorry, I was failing to unmute. Sorry, I heard everything. It's okay to put policies in place, but it's even more important to make sure they are implemented, and they are implemented in the correct way. Yes, there are new policies which say the local communities need to benefit, but not everybody is doing that, because these mining licenses are not only given to companies. A lot of individuals now actually have mining licenses too. So it becomes very difficult to monitor numerous individuals, what they are doing, what they are giving back to a particular community, especially when they don't even come from that community. It might apparently seem easy to monitor what big companies are offering to local communities as they extract the minerals. But for individual mining ventures, it's almost impossible to monitor that, because what they get and what they report to have gotten from the ground might not be very accurate. So I think while the government has made a good measure, more is still to be done to monitor that the local communities benefit. It's not only benefiting from the resources, it's benefiting even from getting jobs in those mines, in having infrastructures put in place in the local communities and stuff like that. Back to you, host.
Yes, thank you very much, Doctor. And we just appreciate King Albert to stay with us here. We know we could be having a problem of people who could be who are coming. Maybe they are committed. I've realized that there are some a number of spaces that have been taken that are taking place, and sometimes if somebody is busy with the or it's just been glued to what they are doing, then it means it will be difficult for them to come. But we are going to be going ahead. It is very important that we go ahead with our presentation. The essence of us conducting this thing is in order for people to, when they get their chance to listen to our recording, then it will help for our information to be disseminated. So we thank you very much, King Albert, to just remain with us. Before I go to what I would want to continue speaking about, I would want to actually, can I also acknowledge the coming in of Mkoma Chris? Thank you very much for coming. We appreciate your presence today. You see, our topic is on how our minerals can be an economic transformational to ordinary citizens, and we are just on the effect that what exactly is the government to do in order for people to be empowered. But what we are now speaking about is the issue of saying, in as much as there are policies that have been put in place and the programs that have been put in place by the government to make sure that they would want to empower Zimbabweans. One thing that has actually come to my attention, and possibly to a number of Zimbabweans' attention, is to say, just like any other economic empowerment programs like the land reform program, like any other programs, we've realized that mostly the elite are the ones within ZANU-PF are the ones who are going to be beneficiaries of such policies. I will also go ahead with speaking about the issue of the farm mechanization program that actually took place in 2007 to 2008, when a number of both the people in the influential people in ZANU-PF, people in the judiciary, people in the some people in the churches and so on and so on, actually got to access the loans from the RBZ. Unfortunately, those loans could not be repaid until now. There hasn't been anything, and that could be the reason why we'll be having the economic situations that we have, and mostly people end up talking about issues to do with sanctions as the result of our economic quagmire. But just to quickly speak about how our minerals are distributed internationally, or is where Zimbabwe stands in as far as both the reserves as well as the production is concerned. Like I said before, that Zimbabwe is number 2 in as much as the reserves of both gold and the platinum in the whole world. And as far as the production is concerned, you realize that diamond production in Zimbabwe is actually 3.8% on world production, meaning to say we are actually producing so much. We are actually producing so much, especially in comparison to our status in as far as our economy is concerned. Going to platinum, the production percentage is at 8.5 of world production, and then on palladium it's at 5.2%. But in as far as, and these statistics actually, I think they actually give us a position to where Zimbabwe is in as far as our production capacities are concerned. When we talk about Zimbabwe being number 2 in the reserves of both platinum and platinum and gold, and we have got such a low production capacity. It means we've got so much to do in as far as how we can actually produce these things. But once we have got this production, Champion, if you've got your network in position, please come through, and this is your subject. We need your expertise here, and then we can go through. But I was going ahead speaking about the issues to do is, let's hypothetically say that we have got all these things that have been produced, these minerals that have been produced. How much of these minerals are going to directly or indirectly going to benefit our people in order for them to actually both sustain themselves as well as their children? We've had problems in as far as how many of our ordinary people have been helped. But I would want to also say, for those who are going to be coming to make their submissions, let's also delve our attention on issues to do with how our environmental degradations from both the local people who have been empowered to actually proceed with the surface panning is concerned. I see Dr. Mkoma Champion, you are having problems with your network. How much is our environment being degraded during the process of mining through our own people? And lately we have had a number of the Chinese people coming into Zimbabwe to do open mining. Are there any environmental policies that are being adhered to in as far as that is concerned? Dr. Amefa, if you've got something to say before we also ask Mkoma Champion to come in.
Thank you, host. Let me talk about environmental degradation. Right. We need to have policies to say, if you are having open cast mines, when you are done working or while you are working in an area, there has to be an enclosure to make people safe and to make animals safe too. We have had numerous reports where people have lost their lives by falling into those holes that are left by miners. We have had livestock being also killed in those accidents, and some of the effects of these minerals, when they are not.
Sorry, doctor. I don't know if we can give Mkoma Champion a chance while his network is still all right, and then.
Okay. Let's go ahead. It's fine.
Okay, thank you very much. Mkoma Champion, can you come in? Especially, I know you. This is your field. Can you go ahead on what you want to submit, as well as can you also touch on issues to do with the environment that Dr. Maifa was going to be talking about, and also on the empowerment of these people that at Zena partners that are being given, especially during this elections campaign. ZANU-PF is going to be saying this is the empowerment that we are doing. How are these people being helped to an extent that they can sustain themselves, or they are being used as a conduit for the enrichment of everybody? Thank you.
Thank you so much. When I am looking at your topic is very, very important, in the sense that I would like to outline an evolution of economic trajectory where we have got classical economists, we have got mercantilists, we have got physiocrats, and so forth. And when you look at the thinking that our people have got, maybe 90% of them, they may come to a point where they will say, oh, you know what, we are poor, but we have got minerals. We can do something and this and that. But with that mind of thinking, if you go to mercantilist, what they will say to you is that trade is a zero-sum game. It's a zero-sum game. How and why? Because they are saying, if you would export more and import less, you are going to develop. And when you look at that school of thought, you come to a point where you just say to yourself, this school of thought, it's wrong because it doesn't address the issue of value, right? When you go to physiocrats as well, they are talking about agricultural output, where they are talking that to say it is the landlords who must realize a net output. And you ask yourself to say, all right, we are talking about people, we are talking about minerals. What is important when we have got minerals? It's how to deliver value in those minerals. So when we talk about delivering value, what is particularly important is steward leadership. How are you going to create value chains? How are you going to create a system that focuses on minerals and be able to deliver the ultimate value to the people of Zimbabwe? This is where the minerals becomes important. But as long as we say minerals, and these minerals, they are not designed in any way, in any form to deliver value, then there's a problem. Why I am saying this, look particularly right now. Look at the leakages that we have in particular. The leakages that we have, they are destroying value instead of creating value. How? Because the gold that is supposed to be used, the platinum, the diamonds, that is supposed to be to form an industry, of which it becomes raw industry, going to the manufacturing sector, and be able now to create value, because once something is a finished product, it has got value that can be offered. People are going to be employed in different sectors. So this is the problem that we have. If we are going to have a steward leadership, the leadership that is designed, or that can design something of which by the end of the day, we are going to realize value. If you take a mineral as it is, how does mining mature? Mining takes 5 to 7 years to mature. You have invested your capital. Now, after investing your capital, you are selling raw materials. You are not benefiting much. The person who benefits is the one who is selling a finished product. Right now, we have got what is called the 3D, 4D manufacturing cut-off technology. It's not even employed in our mining. Because what do we want? We want to realize value. We want to realize profit. And this profit must not be just a book profit, but we are talking about the cash flow that have to come, that have to flow in our system as a result of designing a system. So right now, Zimbabwe does not have a system that is designed to create value, but it only has got systems that are created to destroy value because we have got a lot of leakages. And when you go to the environmental setup, right, all these open pit mining that is being done, the problem is that, remember, there is what is called the contingent liabilities. These are liabilities that comes as a result of past events that you have done. You were mining at a certain area. You have got an obligation to clear and to clean the environment. Do we find our mining companies doing that, resuscitating the area? If the answer is no, those pits that are going to be left, they become source of malaria, they become source of cholera, they become source of all sorts of diseases that are closely linked to mining. And when you look at the social impact, the creation of ghost towns, those are some of the issues which we all have to put into place. Remember, our economy is a raw industry, because look at agriculture. We only produce wheat and sell it to other countries. They process it. We buy again. By the end, we haven't created value. The minerals are going to be sold outside. We don't realize any value. Lithium, it's sold outside. No value is created. Those are things that people should look at. We must have a diamond polishing company in Zimbabwe. We must have got companies that comes to invest, right? And these companies, for them, those companies to invest, what do they need? They need a conducive environment. Do we offer such? So this is the question that I want to leave you with, to say, when we talk about conducive environment or an enabling environment, do we have got any enabling environment where people can invest, where people can even talk about the free flow of funds? We know that because of the economic elite system that is designed, those who are in power, they want to increase or maximize their wealth by joining with their own also short companies, instead of bringing companies that are credible, companies that can even resist corruption. We are only seeing dodgy companies. We are only seeing rogue companies coming to Zimbabwe to invest because there is a rogue government as well. That's where steward leadership comes into play. If we don't have steward leadership, whatever we may try to say, whatever we may want, because a conducive environment is going to be brought by a leader who understands how does 1, 2, 3 works. So a bit of everything is to go through the history of economic thought, the evolution of economic mind, the Adam Smith, what were they talking about when they talk about the theory labor of value, right? When we talk about competition, what do they mean? They are saying that we must have more companies that invest in a certain country so that we don't have monopolies and oligopolies. Because monopolies and oligopolies, they centralize wealth to one person, to individual, to a group of people, and what is going to happen? So right now, with the elite system that ZANU-PF believes in, we don't have the economic transformation that we are all yearning for the reason being that we don't have leadership. We don't have a conducive environment. We don't have a financial system. The financial system is dead. Do you think there is any investor who is going to trust our bond note, our RTGS? The answer is no. So what does that mean to any investor who is obsessed with investment, getting a return on his capital? The person who live and go to Zambia, the person who live and go to Tanzania, the person who live and go to Egypt and Algeria, Kenya, and other competing countries. Why? Because those companies, they offer a return. So we do have got a problem when we talk about all these issues. When our financial system and all the environmental system is not designed to create value. We need an environment that creates value. What is mined today must be processed there. People getting jobs. After people getting jobs, the tertiary sector comes and support. If we don't have such systems, and also when these mining companies comes to our area, we must emphasize, and we must have a policy that emphasizes on corporate social investments and corporate social responsibility. Look at the areas where Chinese companies are mining. They don't develop anything. They don't do anything. When the gold or whatsoever mineral is lapsed or finished, what happens? There is nothing to talk about. There is no infrastructure and all those things. So I end here because I have seen my brother Farah is here. I think he's someone whom we were waiting for. Thank you.
No. Mukoma champion, and I'm not making you to stop, but I just wanted to give this to advise Mukoma Farai that I've just given you invited you to speak. Can you kindly accept it, that while you Mukoma champion are still talking, that's no problem. Whenever he gets that he is a speaker, then he can go ahead. And I also wanted to highlight the fact that we are so much overwhelmed and encouraged by the feedback that we are getting from both our Change Radio listeners, our Facebook listeners, our YouTube listeners, who are actually saying that this topic is something that is going to enhance the generality of Zimbabweans. So, in as much as we could be having, we'll be having some more people to come in through, but we are having so much of feedback coming from most of our social media partners. Thank you. Go ahead, Mukoma champion, and Ramagu. We kindly implore you to pick up the mic. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I was just saying we need to reimagine a system that can enable us to have or to create value, because right now I see the system as something that is insignificant in terms of transforming the lives of people, because we are only depending on one thing, that is extractive industry. But on those extractive industries, we must have also other services that must be offered in any form to try to create an environment where we do create employment for a lot of people. Looking at how our unemployment looks like, it is something that is very, very important for us to design or reimagine a system that is very, very inclusive enough to be able to deal with all those challenges. Because remember, I mentioned the issue of leakages. The leakages in any form, they are not creating value, but they are destroying value in the sense that all those raw materials that leaks go through South Africa to Dubai and whatsoever. They were supposed to be part of the value chain that can create employment to our people. By the end, we can transform. And also, when we talk about environmental system, let's go to our EMA, EMA, and look to say what are their policies which they have. Are they having a policy whereby our mining companies are compelled to resuscitate, clean the environment when their mining activity has ceased? I think those are some of the issues that are very, very important. I don't know whether there is something else that you need me to explore, but I will also listen and come back whenever I have got something. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mkoma Champion. Thank you very much. In a nutshell, I could sum up by saying, apparently there's a lot of mining or digging up activities, but no value in whatever is being done. And we say no value because the ordinary people or the Zimbabweans are not benefiting from this apparent mining. And you also interested me when you raised the issue of diseases like malaria. You know, as water accumulates in those dug holes, it's now a breeding space for all kinds of insects like mosquitoes. And I don't want to waste much time, and I want to give this time to the host so that he will introduce our speaker. And also, host, please check your WhatsApp. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maifa, and we are happy that we are smoothly going ahead with our topic and with our program. It's always our pleasure that on a weekly basis we gather here, we speak about issues of concern, in particular of our country. We need to empower our people. We need to make sure that our people know what exactly their rights are. We also need them to understand that there are also Zimbabweans who are working tirelessly to make sure that their livelihoods are empowered. So, like I said when I started, that our topic today, we are going to be exploring on issues to do with how our mineral resources, Zimbabwe being a country that is so rich, abundantly rich in mineral resources, but are these economic mineral resources actually transforming the lives of our ordinary people, in particular in the rural areas, and as well even in the urban areas, because we've realized that the poverty trend is actually shifted from, or it is actually translated to the urban areas as well. So it is our pleasure to today have an environmentalist, a human being who has worked so hard to fight for the green energy within Zimbabwe and internationally. He has worked so much with the international community, has worked with the stakeholders in Zimbabwe to make sure that what happens in Zimbabwe as far as the mining, the energy system in Zimbabwe is actually making sure that both the economy is improving as well as the social welfare of the people is improving. I wouldn't want to waste so much of my time speaking more about him, but it is going to be revealed by what is going to be speaking. Ibafare Magu, we welcome you. Can you go ahead with giving your presentation to the people? Remember, we have got Twitter listeners, we've got Facebook listeners, we've got YouTube listeners, we also have got Change Radio listeners. So we've got a wide spectrum of our listeners who are waiting for your address. Thank you very much, Magu. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mkoma Denford, for the invitation, but more importantly, for creating space to discuss this very, very important topic in the history of our country. It is very important that we all know what's happening in the extractive sector and the potential of the extractive sector in Zimbabwe and the pitfalls in the governance of that sector that needs to be addressed as soon as possible, so that all Zimbabweans can benefit from the endowment that we have in our natural resources sector. So it is not something out of, or something that is doubtful to say natural resources is an area that Zimbabwe has comparative advantage over most of the countries on the planet Earth. The country is endowed with massive mineral deposits, such that if you can have, or if you can draw a geological map citing all the minerals that we have, you might find that the whole country is a big mine. Nevertheless, the abundance of these minerals have become a source of conflict and poverty for the country and for the community where the resources are found. And this phenomena is referred to by academics as the resource curse, where countries that are blessed and endowed with massive natural resources find it very difficult to develop. One of the problems that is found in resource-rich countries is usually bad governance. Natural resources lead to bad governance, corruption, class formation of the ruling elites, rent-seeking behavior where government starts to charge resource rents to extractive industries. And those resource rents, sometimes they don't go to treasury, they go into the pockets of families and individuals, levers of power, be it in the ruling party, be it in the senior civil servants, be it the security sector or the military. And those countries become ungovernable. State institutions become dysfunctional. And sometimes even holding elections in those countries, it becomes merely to tick the boxes. But a lot of countries in Africa, which has got massive natural resource endowments, they struggle with even democracy, human rights, and development itself. And they also suffer from the disease of inequality, where if you drive in those streets of those countries, you will find vehicles worth $500,000, the Lamborghinis of this world, the Ferraris of this world, in a country where the government is failing to provide basic services to its citizens. That contradiction is called the paradox of plenty or the resource curse. And in the past, we used to think about it when we think of countries like Nigeria, the Democratic Republic of Congo. But ever since Zimbabwe adopted what it called the Look East policy in 2003, where we began to see Chinese coming into the country, Zimbabwe has slowly but surely cascaded into a resource-cursed country. So the turning point became the discovery of diamonds in 2006 in Marange. And when the diamonds were discovered, what did we do? The ruling elites went to found companies which had no history of diamond mining. They were registered, some of them in tax havens like Mauritius. I'm talking of companies like Grandwell Holdings, which partnered with ZMDC to form Mbada Diamonds. I'm talking of companies like Canadil, Anjin. These are companies which had no history of diamond mining, but they were selected to mine our diamonds. And until now, we are still counting the losses. There is nothing in Marange, absolutely nothing to show that this is a community where diamonds worth billions are being extracted every year. And just to give you one interesting example, the bridge that goes into Marange, or the bridge that connects Marange, if you're coming from Hot Springs, it's a very narrow bridge. And Headman Chiadzwa actually died on that bridge. His vehicle collided with the Anjin bus, and he died because the bridge is too narrow. And until today, more than 15 years since it happened, that bridge is still not attended to. And the diamonds are depleting. So what it means is that by the time ZCDC and Anjin leave Marange, that community will be more poorer than it is today because they are not investing anything in that community. And when it comes to NGOs doing work in Marange, it's cumbersome because the government declared Marange a protected area, which means for you to enter there, there's a lot of paperwork you must do to be allowed to go into Marange. So the whole community of Marange is now in an open prison where they've been isolated from the rest of Zimbabwe. They don't enjoy majority of their constitutional rights: freedom of assembly, freedom of association, freedom of movement. While some people may enjoy these rights to a certain degree in Zimbabwe, in Marange, these rights have been completely withdrawn. And what is the crime that they've committed? They have found themselves in an area with natural resources, which the ruling elites are enjoying. Now, the Marange case reflects the entire extractive sector in Zimbabwe, where minerals are found. There is a heavy security presence. There are pillars, we call them pillars of repression, which have been put in place to ensure that that community cannot express itself, cannot organize itself, cannot mobilize itself to demand justice. Talking about economic justice. So these pillars of repression, for example, if you try to do civic education in those communities, you are told that you must first of all get a memorandum of understanding. I think we are all aware of the PVO bill that is being pushed right now to ban CSOs. We are one of the organizations which has been singled out that it must be closed. Why? Because we are working with the grassroots communities to say minerals must lead to socio-economic development at the local level first. Before you talk about national development, if coal is being extracted in Hwange, you know, there are environmental impacts which the Hwange community suffer because of coal. There are massive carbon emissions which these people breathe, and it has got deleterious effects on them. You know, some of them actually have lung diseases because of inhaling coal. And we are saying, if this coal is profitable, if the energy which is being generated from the coal is profitable, then the Hwange community must benefit. So when we do this work, we are not doing it for the Americans, we are not doing it for the British, we're doing it for the Zimbabwean people because we are Zimbabwean. And we want to see our country develop from its natural resource endowment. But we have noted these pillars of repression where you have got the district development coordinator, they call them the DDC, is a pillar of repression. You've got the CIO. Whenever you want to do workshops in these communities, they will be running around as if there is a foreign army that wants to invade that community. You've got the provincial mining directors. They also side with the mining companies, not with the communities. In some areas, you have got traditional leaders like the chiefs who are paid to defend the company and not their people. You have the Zimbabwe Republic Police also being there as a pillar of repression to silence the community. When I speak, I also give practical examples. Some few years ago, we worked in Penalonga. We still work there. There was gold mining. And the gold that they find in that place is quite massive. There was metal on gold operating as red wing mine. And we said the community is not benefiting anything. And this company is failing even to repair the roads, which are being damaged because of its heavy vehicles. We held several meetings with the community and we talked about the right to say no to this destructive mining. And we organized the community to protest. So we followed the law. The community then wrote to the police, notifying them that we are going to have a demonstration. And our demonstration is meant to demand development from our gold. Or if the gold is not profitable, stop the mining until we have got an investor who can mine profitably and have some of the proceeds invested back into the community. There's a requirement that when you write a police notification letter, there's an address and a phone number. So the people who were listed there were called to the police. They were told that they need to negotiate with the company. They told them, we have done that before. They were told to come for a meeting in town, in Mutare. They went for that meeting. In that meeting, there were more than 15 police officers and the Red Wing Mine executives. There were AK-47 rifles in that room. And one of the rifles was put on the table. And the two community members were shown the rifle and they were told, do you know what this is? And they said, yes, we know. They were asked, what is it for? They said, this is for killing. It's a gun. They said, okay, I'm glad you know that it kills. So never, ever must we hear again that you want to protest against the mining company. And should we hear that again, you're interested in pursuing this, we are going to take you to a certain place where the lions will be very happy to receive you as their dinner. And that was the end of that protest that we were planning in Penalonga. We've experienced a number of these challenges in areas where we are trying to conscientize the communities so that they can demand a share of their resources. In Mutoko, you go to Mutoko, there is black granite which is coming to Mutoko. It's quite profitable, but if you look at the RDC of Mutoko, it receives peanuts from the black granite. But if you follow the stone to Europe, you find that it's being used to construct magnificent buildings, which are very expensive to construct, and even they've got great value because of the black granite coming from Mutoko. But if you go to the source where the rock is coming from, there is nothing there. So this is the story of mining. the only company in Zimbabwe which has surpassed most of the other mining companies in terms of CSR is Zimplats. Zimplats has managed to build a town from nothing. They've managed to build a highway. If you go to that area near Chegutu, 10 left, that road is constructed by Zimplats. And that is the model that we have been talking about, that before you start mining, you need a master plan. A master plan is a plan that establishes linkages between mining and other sectors. A master plan should link mining to agriculture. It must link mining to education, health, infrastructure development, housing, banking, and other sectors, such that even when the mineral is exhausted, those sectors which had linkages with the sector can continue without mining. It all starts with planning. The moment you start mining without a master plan, you are planning to fail. It's mining the current model that we have in Zimbabwe today, where every mining company has got a chef behind it. Every mining company. And the hypocrisy is sickening. A lot of you remember that during the hype of indigenization, many companies actually went to Zimbabwe's ruling elites, the same people who sat in the Politburo, the same people who sat in parliament, the very same people who sat in cabinet and say we want to indigenize are the very same people who Nicodemously went to these companies and became the majority shareholders, but they were fake shareholders. They did not invest anything. I'm talking about people like Zikamai Mavaire, who claimed to be majority shareholder in Bikita Minerals. He had no shares in Bikita Minerals. I'm talking about people like Mpekezela Mpoko, who claimed to be the shareholder in that group of supermarkets. I can't remember the name. So that's how hypocritical we are in our governance system, where people sit in cabinets, they say, guys, we want to make toll gates in this country so that we raise money to repair our roads and build our roads. And they all say, yes, we need toll gates in the country. Then let's write each other exemption letters so that we, our wives, our children, our girlfriends do not pay toll gates. It's that hypocrisy which has destroyed this great nation, where people have got powerful statements when they are before a camera, but the same things they are saying. Recently we were told that we have lithium. It's a strategic mineral. It's on demand the world over. And let's see, ban the export of raw lithium. And the following day, you hear that the Zimbabwe National Army has been exempted. They've been given a permit to export lithium. The following day, you hear that somebody who is related to someone has got 3 trucks that were stopped at Bedi Bridge border post trying to export lithium to South Africa. So the country is a horn of plenty, but what is needed is that we walk the talk when we say we want mineral-led industrialization. So we have seen also the victimization of communities whenever a resource has been found in a community. Anyone who tries to speak out, they are threatened. The Chinese have been given power over the Zimbabwean people, over our natural resources. Wherever the Chinese are going, they are supported, they are protected by state security. And the question we must ask is, why do they enjoy such heavy protection? They are being protected from who? What is it that they are doing which the government is not aware that the people are not happy with this, and we must give the Chinese extra protection? That is the crisis we have, brothers and sisters. Our country is very rich. I have done a rough estimate as to say, how much is Zimbabwe able to raise in terms of revenue from minerals alone annually? We're not talking about other resources which the country has. I'm talking about minerals only. Right now in Marange, we are mining more than 5 million carats annually. And of those 5 million carats, 10% is gem quality. And when you talk about gem quality, you are talking about a carat that costs between 400 to 1,000 US dollars. We have chrome, which is being exported, and much of the chrome that is leaving Zimbabwe is undeclared. Why is it undeclared? It's because there is a chef behind it. There is a powerful person behind it. So when it reaches the border, the moment the border officials know that this there's a chef so and so behind it, they won't touch it. It will go. So there is no seriousness in terms of widening our revenue basket. But I'll come back to the point of how much can Zimbabwe raise from its minerals. My rough estimate shows that Zimbabwe can exceed 20 billion annually from its mineral resource revenues. Diamonds alone can bring us more than 2 billion annually, diamonds alone. But diamonds are no longer the major export, the minerals that we're exporting in Zimbabwe. We have chrome, we have got lithium, we have got platinum. Above all, we have got gold, which Fidelity printers and refiners gave gold buying licenses to a bunch of criminals. And these people were known for illicit gold dealings before 2017. But after 2017, these criminals were now formalized. They were now given gold buying licenses so that nobody can arrest them. Nobody can stop them